know this video was released later than it should have, so I apologize, but I do want to make clear why I was in Georgia for a week. So about 2 months ago, my mother was scrolling through Facebook and found a link to apply for a week-long film intensive in Albany, Georgia. The cost to go was high, and I kind of was a little hesitant to go, but I did eventually decide, yeah, I'll do it. This film intensive was ran by the Kendrick brothers, who you might remember from such films like Facing the Giants, Fireproof, Courageous, War Room, and most recently, The Forge. Yes, they are Christian filmmakers, and some of you might be turned off by that, but that's okay. Honestly, it's not like I've watched a whole lot of faith-based films myself. It's some people's thing, but it's not a genre that I immediately gravitate to. I did watch at least half of their filmography before I left to make sure I got caught up on at least some of their work. That way I knew what the filmmakers were talking about when they were discussing their prior movies. It was a long way down to Albany, 13 hours and 20 minutes to be exact, at least according to my GPS anyway. I had the option to fly or take a train or bus, but I ultimately chose my car because even though it would be 6 to 7 hours of driving per day, paying for gas several times would be a lot cheaper than flying, because the ticket rates were getting a little too high for my liking. And I was interested in taking a train because I've never done that before, but the closest train depot was 2 hours away from Albany and I would have had to take another Uber on the way there, so no. There was the option of a bus as well, but it was a similar scenario and quite frankly, sleeping on it wouldn't be very comfortable, so I just chose to drive straight there instead. It was a long trip, but it was cheaper and more convenient. Finally, I got to Albany, and I must say it's quite an interesting mix. The outskirts remind me of very open, rural Pennsylvania, but the main inner part reminded me of Busy State College, where I went to Penn State at. But I think you'll want to hear the main part now. But first, a promo.
Now, a word from our sponsor. Well, technically, 20th Century Dude doesn't have any sponsors for this channel. However, there are a few things that you can throw your support at. Another place to show your support at is broadcast media companies. Last year, the FCC cut billions of dollars worth of funding for broadcast companies that support cable, antenna TV, or other over-the-air TV. Make sure you support these media companies as long as you possibly can while we still have them, because the day is coming when they might not be here anymore. Now, on for our main programming. Don't touch the dial.
The film intensive itself was mainly a project for one of their ministries. It was a short film that we would be working on, taking on various roles. They had a set left over from their Forge film, and that's where we did all the filming. The first 2 days were introductory in nature. The filmmakers gave their testimonies and brief introductions of film knowledge and know-how for people who haven't had any film experience before, whether it's working on film sets or going to school for film. We also did some pre-rigging on the second day, that way we were a few hours ahead of schedule for shooting. On the first day, I worked with the camera department, and I mainly got paired with the first AC, and for those of you who don't know what first assistant camera is, you're basically the focus guy. Your job is to stand behind a monitor, adjust the focus for a shot, and mark down on a focus wheel specific times to alter the focus for a scene. Again, you're the focus dude. And honestly, I really liked it, so I guess if I didn't want to direct or edit, there was first AC then. On the second day, I got assigned to be a script supervisor. That role was solely dedicated to continuity and attention to detail. You sit with the director and main cinematographer, time how long each take is, write down any notes about something that may have happened during that take, or any errors that may have occurred. Whether somebody in take 1 ate a hamburger for 30 seconds and paid a $5 tip to the actor, or whether somebody ate a hamburger for only 20 seconds and paid only a $3 tip. Little things like that. Or if one take was better than the other, it essentially helps the editor during the post-production process. Then after the shooting days were over, we all went home, said our emotional goodbyes to each other, and that was it. So I bet you're wondering how I felt during this event and what I got out of it. I was pretty hesitant to go at first, but in the end, I think it was worth it. The film intensive gave me a chance to connect with other filmmakers and wannabe filmmakers, or people who want to get their foot in the door in another related business. Whether or not that guarantees me a job or not, I'm not sure. It wasn't that kind of networking event or opportunity. That being said, Since I did participate in the intensive and they loved me being there, I don't see why I wouldn't be considered for anything. If I have to move down there, so be it, I guess, as long as I could afford a place to live. But after the event, I could actually say that I feel like somewhat of a different person afterwards. There was something about the atmosphere being there that just felt like complete love. And I feel like that's one aspect of me that I've been lacking over the years. I forgot to know what it's like to love others wholeheartedly, treat others as you wish to be treated. I also realized that there maybe are some things about Hollywood that are a lot worse than what we think. There were a few people, when they shared their testimonies, remarked about their horror stories they had working on secular film sets. And apparently Hollywood behind the scenes is much more of a sick place than what it lets on. Now, granted, I also did work on a secular film back in October, doing a film called 1780, and while it was only a movie made for $100,000, I can't say that I have any nightmare stories to share. I think I had a pretty good time regardless. Nonetheless, I can also say I did have a better time working in Albany than I did in Phillipsburg between the two, just because of the atmosphere of love alone. I also got some more clarity to some questions I had about the Lord for years and years, so now I feel like I have something fulfilled with better clarity in life as to why things are the way they are. When I got home, I even decided to get rid of a few DVDs and tapes that honestly wouldn't help correct me in fixing my spiritual life. So, yes, that's why I was gone for a week in Georgia. I just thought I'd let you know since it did affect the amount of video traffic going out. Nevertheless, thank you for tuning into this video today and hope to catch you on the fly. See ya.